So I want to talk about something, and it's don't be a sacrifice for anybody. And if you don't think you're a sacrifice for people, then look at it like this. First of all, the so-called black women, brown woman in the United States of America is the sacrifice for everybody. Because if she is at the bottom, and I'm not talking about every single individual so-called brown women, I'm talking about just in general, the collective. Um, it's almost a point you have to be selfish, and the reason why is because this is not a reality where people stick together and uplift each other and support each other. People give each other, for the most part, not individually, but for the most part, people give each other negative affirmations more than they give each other positive affirmations. They want to keep pointing out what somebody does wrong versus what they do right. Because for a lot of people, and this is not me just speaking, this is just from me observing, even if it's just on YouTube or on the news likes to point out more negative things going on in the world than there is positive. When they want to talk about positive stuff, they show some little cute babies or some cats and dogs or something like that. Or they might talk about a county fair or something like that. But for the most part, even the news like to stick on the negative things that happen in the world. They do not like to, it's a complete imbalance between negative and positive. Okay? So for the most part, what I'm saying is this is not a reality. This doesn't seem to be a world where people uplift each other. They don't support each other, anything like that. So I'm saying that is because for the most part, many of us cannot afford to take on anybody else's burdens. We can't afford to allow people to lay their burdens on us. We can't afford to continue to get, and I'm speaking to myself with this one. We cannot afford to continue to get less than what we deserve, whether if it's pay, whether if it's in a relationship. But pay could mean a job, but it could also mean if you're doing favors for somebody. Even if you're taking them like across town and you constantly doing stuff for them and they don't do anything for you back. And sometimes you don't ask for anything, but when it comes time for you to need something, they don't they don't they don't reciprocate. I disagree with, and let me tell you why I disagree with that. Because when you do something for somebody, and then the next time they have the ability to try to reciprocate in some kind of way and they don't do it, I feel like that is a person to leave alone. And once again, I'm saying this to myself. I feel like that is a person to leave alone. At that point, don't do them any more favors. Because I don't like this saying is where you shouldn't expect them to do anything for you because just because you do something for them. Because it's like you holding it over their head. No, 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 no. I'm not Jesus Christ for you. I might be Christ. I just might be Christ because I keep seeing every night that I keep taking on a whole bunch of burdens. I'm like, I'm sorry, let me dump these burdens out that belong to everybody else because this man called Jesus supposed to be dying for everybody else's sins, right? That's what the Bible say. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm not interested in what's right and wrong and all this correction and what's the occult teaching. I'm not trying to get into all of that. Most people, especially in the United States of America and around the world in general, believe that Jesus Christ is a man, whether it's a black man or some other Middle Eastern man that look like he Arab or something. A lot of people at this point don't really believe it's a white man except for white people. But for the most part, or it's a Spanish man, like, Hispanic looking man, white Latino, not dark skin, But either way, they just for the most part, they think it's a male. And so when I see during my meditations that I'm like holding all this stuff that belongs to a whole lot of different people, and a lot of times you hold people's burdens without knowing you're holding it because it's almost like having to protect your energy. Because if you're not full, I'm gonna say it like this: if you're not completely full in your energy, like how everything needs to contain you, and if there are some empty spots or whatever, then you have somebody else's. A lot of that baggage that people are carrying can come from witchcraft. It can come from purposeful black magic where somebody wanted to take your destiny. That's something that belonged to you. But then the others could come from not getting what you deserve. Okay, but so it's not that you purposely taking on somebody else's stuff. It just can happen without you knowing it. And so I see myself with a bag full of garbage and stuff. And I just like I have to dump all that out. That has to go. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with it. Because supposedly Jesus is supposed to come down for everybody else's sins, so I don't need to be taking on nobody's garbage. I don't need to take on anybody else's baggage, because Jesus is supposed to come down for their sins. Hold on a second. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna have to send them. Jesus is supposed to die for their sins, right? This is what a lot of people believe. So if Jesus is supposed to die for their sins, then there is no reason for you to be taking on anybody else's garbage. There's no reason for you to take on anybody else's burdens. That's just the way it is. And at this point, it's like you try not to be selfish, but it's almost like I have to learn how to be selfish at this point. Because this is not a reality where people hold each other up. This is not a reality where people support each other. This is not that kind of reality. And it kind of leaves you have to be selfish. You have to cut yourself off. And it's real like you have to look at what's best for you. But I don't have much to say. I do have more to say, but it's just almost like it's not the climate to talk about it, because nobody really discusses it. Nobody's got to that point. I don't care how much they talk about the matrix. I don't care how much they talk about math and geometric shapes and the astrology. It gets to a point where this thing right here has to stop, because it's not serving any purpose. This whole thing serves no purpose. It's only suffering. Now, I get that you can have spot points in your life where you're doing really good and you might be going to the park and you have a good time in your life. But for the most part, what is seen is a lot of suffering. But that has a lot to do with the consciousness. But at the same time, some people have a low consciousness. It might not be because of their own. From my own experience, trying to do my own internal work, I get a lot of resistance. That means but that also can mean that the ego cannot raise its own consciousness. You got to raise up out the ego. The ego is fear. If you're in the ego, you're going to almost be, your consciousness is in the root chakra just about. Like if you're in the ego, your consciousness might stay in the root chakra. But at the same time, for me, what I've seen in the astral, that I get a lot of resistance from other beings in unseen dimensions, in the unseen world that you can't see with your physical eye. And some of them don't even look like they're human. And I'm going to tell you another thing where they're making sure you don't raise up in consciousness. What they did since 2020. I've seen inside of people's bodies an invasion. I've seen an invasion. People think they're looking at themselves in the mirror. They don't know what they're looking at anyway, because their brain hallucinates their reality. But the brain is not something that's necessarily in your head, because the physical body is not really real. So where's the brain? The brain is a computer, and somebody else is manipulating things. And people that's in other realms are manipulating what people see in the third dimension, and even what their brain sees. Okay? And so what I'm saying is there is a huge resistance on people rising up. So at this point, this whole thing needs to be shut down to give people a chance to rise up in consciousness who want to rise up. The people who want to rise up, who's not trying to do people dirty. Sometimes, I'm going to tell you right now, with the way this world is and how dirty people are, that I literally see them dirty in the physical, but I see way more stuff going on with the shadow. See, a lot of stuff I see going carrying on, I see it in the shadow realm. When people say they see shadow people, that's like the shadow realm. Some people call it 4D or something. I'm not going to get into the 4D and 5D. I'm just going to call it, I see the shadow realm. And there's a lot of low down stuff that keep happening, to a point where when people are trying to do the work on themselves, they're getting met with resistance, to the point where this needs to be shut down. This needs to be shut down. And then you give them bills and you give them all these kind of responsibilities where they pay taxes. And now it's like it's almost impossible to rise up in consciousness. Some people it's not. Some people for some reason get a break, but some people do not get a break. And they don't have a chance to rise up and do the work that they can do, because the way this world is. And I don't know how some of our consciousness fell down to this ego. Now, for me, from what I've seen, some of us that come from a higher frequency, a higher dimension, which means some of us come from the real world. from one of the things I heard is somehow blood was taken and it was manipulated, and some people codes got changed. So your real bodies are still somewhere in the real world, but your codes got changed and now you got here, but somebody manipulated the codes. This is not something that's like necessarily your fault. Codes were manipulated and changed. So somebody can control you from their laptop. So they can bring you down to a laptop and to their apps and control you. If you see that movie called Matrix 4 Resurrections, that's how this is. People are controlling consciousness from their laptops. I see it all the time. People can control consciousness. That means other people from their laptops, because they're able to change your codes and bring you down to zeros and ones and whatever. I don't understand the codes that well, but yeah. But anyway, I don't want to go that far. I want to say it this. A lot of people, if you don't know, some of the things I'm saying might not sound right, especially when I say a lot of people don't know they're robots. They don't know that there has been an invasion, an alien type of invasion, and don't realize it yet because they don't feel different. They don't see anything different. But there has been a grave injustice that happened. And at this point, things need to be shut down. That's it. Need to be shut down to give people who are trying their best to rise up the best way they can. Give them a chance. Because there's a lot of mind reading going on. A lot of people might have this neural link and don't even realize they have a neural link attached. If somebody's able to change your codes and drag your consciousness into a laptop, they can put the neural link on you without even knowing. Because if they were able to do all this stuff without you knowing, who's to say they didn't put that neural link already on you? Who's to say you don't even already have a chip? Who's to say that? Because you do have implants, so if somebody can put implants, and many people have implants and don't know it. So if they're able to do that, who's to say you don't already have the chip? Who's to say you don't have it? If they can do all this other stuff. It's not like they're going to get your permission, and they're not going to do it in a way where you know it consciously. Because if they did all this other stuff, you can't count off the fact that you might just already have a chip. They can read your mind already. When you try to rise up in consciousness and you try to, I've already seen it outside the physical. When I do stuff and I see myself rising up in consciousness. And what I saw, I'm going to tell you what I rose up out of when I rose in consciousness. My spirit, it's almost like my spirit man or whatever pops out of from underground. And what do I see? I'll tell you what I used to see like last year. I used to see myself rising up against a big thing of snow, look like Antarctica. And I would see military. I would see those military trucks, and I would see military out like guarding the area to make sure that people do not rise up in consciousness, like they got something to make sure people don't rise up. See, there's a lot of resistance going on right there to make sure that the work can't be done for you to rise up. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you got to be real slick with how you do it. Okay, and I pretty much got the answer on how this is going to work for me. Can't say I have the 100% answer because I'm still here, but I have an idea, and I just have to keep doing the work. But I don't know if that's 100% true, because if I'm still here, then I don't even know if that's true. But still, you're being met with a lot of resistance. And I'm to the point where people who are really interested in doing the work on themselves, this thing needs to be shut down. And really, they need to shut down bills and jobs. All this stuff needs to be shut down. So people who need to try to rise up in consciousness, now they get a fair chance to have the time to themselves to do the work they need to do on themselves. They need to get a fair shot. Because right now, people ain't getting a fair shot. Not getting a fair shot. But yeah, and with that being said, like I said, no need to be taking everybody else's karma for them. No need to be taking everybody, because when you take on somebody else's baggage, you are taking their karma. And supposedly Jesus was supposed to do that. So no, send it back to him and say, give it to Jesus or whoever it is. I don't care if it's Buddha. I don't care, Krishna. I don't care. Give it to whoever you believe in. But I'm not taking it, because unless you're going to get down on your knees and praise me and call me God or call me Jesus, then you send it back to somebody else. Whoever it is that you believe in, give it to them. Don't give it to me, because you're not the one that's calling me Jesus. You're not the one that's praising me. You go and you praise God, or you go and praise whoever it is that you want to praise, Allah or whoever it is. But it certainly is not me. So I'm not going to be taking anybody's karma for them. Give it to whoever it is that you call yourself worshiping. Give it to them. Even when somebody want to get it, like even with family, parents, family, whoever it is, then want to lay their burdens on you by projecting the anger at you. Like, no, take that back to Jesus. I cannot take your karma. I can't take your baggage. Take it back to Jesus. That's the one that you want to go and praise and say somebody died for you. I'm not saying it's not true. The point I'm making is you the one that want to say somebody died for you. And if it's not Jesus, somebody, for the most part, many people are worshiping something. So go back and take it to whoever it is that you want to sing your praises to, because it ain't me. You don't do me any favors. You don't do anything for me. I will not be taking your karma and have to take care of my own stuff at the same time. A lot of stuff that people have to fix in their life come from where somebody else messed with them. I don't care if it was witchcraft. I don't care if it was somebody set them up, sabotaged them. A lot of stuff that people have to clean up in their life is from somebody else doing for in one way or another, doing something to ruin their life. Now, I'm not trying to pass blame out on anybody else, but I know specifically in my life. I mean, I don't see many a times, child, please. When somebody messes with your energy, a lot of things can happen to you that wouldn't normally happen to you if you can just be left alone. See, it gets to a point where you have to make sure many times a day, it's like pray without ceasing. Make sure your energy is protected, because people are so evil. But people are so evil because it's coming from that shadow realm. And it could be coming from a little bit above the shadow realm too. Okay? It's coming from there. So a lot of people are doing what they do is because their ideas are coming from some other entities anyway. And so it goes way back to those entities that's doing all this stuff. Okay? So, but anyway, no. But with that being said, I'll talk later.